What are you doing up here? What am I doing up here? It's Halloween. You know what that means. I need to make a costume. As always, I really cannot afford pretty much anything. Gotta make something with what we got. Cardboard, hot glue, and some old costumes. We're gonna figure something out. I have been known to do quite a few Halloween crafts in my day. Halloween is a lifestyle, and I am living it. I like to make a new costume every year. Last year I was a plague doctor. The year before that I was a circus ringmaster. The year before that I was a spider queen. The year before that I was a dark fairy. I just really like making costumes. A very cliche costume, but a Grim Reaper. I had a skeleton mask already and a lot of the paint was coming off, so I decided to do a repaint. I hadn't ever done a repaint of anything before. Could screw it up, but I don't really think it's gonna get too much worse, which is very comforting. The plastic was formed pretty well. I laid down all the flat color first. I started going in to layer in highlights and shadows to give some more definition. I am a coward, so I always start the lightest shade of shadow, I guess. I went in and put it in the areas that are concave. Stipple dry brushed all of this on because it gave it some texture. I just made the shadows darker and darker. The mask was shiny before. I used flat paint. Looks a little bit more like bone. Around the eye sockets I went a gradient to black. I also did that on the nose. I did do that on the mouth later as well. I went and scraped the paint that I had gotten on the teeth off to keep the shiny part. I also went in and added highlights afterwards on the high points of the face. Tried to blend it in as best as I could, like contouring except with no skin. I did also paint some cracks to make it a little bit spookier, kind of like it's old, because the Grim Reaper, I'm sure, has been through some stuff. I've just been like staring at this. I don't think it's creepy enough. This is a blood warning. It's not actual blood. It is red paint, so if that freaks you out, just letting you know. Around the mouth and on the teeth. Painted some of it on and I splattered some of it on. Controlled splattering. I may have gotten some blood on the wall. Kind of. I feel like this is dangerous because I just like can't stop. Nose holes and eye holes, obviously so that you can breathe and see. However, look at this and tell me that this honestly isn't one of the stupidest things you've ever seen. It just defeats the whole purpose of the mask. Who cares about safety? This is super thin fabric, so you can pretty much see through it. I think it's fine. Do you see the difference here though? And then we moved on to the scythe. Kind of the big feature of this costume, I guess. What are we gonna use around the house to make a scythe? This is the answer. I wanted it to be a little bit taller. I used cardboard, as always, rolled up tubes, glued them on in the shape that I wanted it to be. It ended up looking like Jack Frost's staff. I didn't mean to do that. Subconsciously, maybe I might have, because I wanted to make that at one point. I went over it with paper mache, which is really what strengthens it, especially where the joints are. I also built up along the long straight part so that it would look more like a natural shape. I had to build the actual blade part. I cut out 2 pieces in the shape that I wanted it to be. I made it a little bit rough and uneven. Kind of wanted it to be sort of looking old. Glued them together so it was a little bit sturdier, and then on the side that was going to be the front, hacked away at the bottom of it to make an angled edge. This is kind of a theme. I did a lot of hacking at things, which might be fitting. I'm gonna paint a new layer of paper mache over draw wood texturing. We're gonna glue it on first, and I'll paper mache over it after to try and make it a little bit stronger. Paint. Started with the handle. I basically just went in and did a super uneven coat of brown paint. I don't really mix my brown that well when I paint wood, and I mix it with a lot of water so that it's very streaky. Then I painted the blade. First I painted it black and then I went over with silver. So I did a gradient from black to a really bright silver. The brightest silver is always on the blade part, and painted some darker like crack kind of areas, rust color. And then I also added blood to this, of course. It needs to be spooky.
Blood. Gallons of the stuff.
I added a top cap and little screw kind of details. I used yarn on the top and bottom, aged that, and bloodied it up. It's done. Let me take you through a tour. Just gonna keep this, and anytime anybody crosses me, you've got hell to pay, literally. Now you can't have a Grim Reaper without a miniature graveyard. I had 2 foam pieces that were from a shipped package. I don't have anything besides this to cut it with. I cut them in half. I had never done anything with like actual terrain on the ground before, so this was a very fun one. I glued all of those onto a cardboard base. A lot of this was basically just taking stuff from outside in actual nature and adding it to make a tiny nature. We're back to the dirt sifting business. To make the actual ground texture, I did paint some of it brown, went and got some dirt from outside, glued it and layered it on. I was trying to cover up the seams. Then I wanted to make a tree that sort of hung over a little bit. I made that out of cardboard tubes, basically exactly the same how I made the scythe. Did the wood texturing and painted it. I attached it onto the foam and then I sort of paper mached roots into the foam. It's not working out as I planned. One of the things I do ever. That's not gonna stop me. And then I used the same moss that I've been using for every project for leaves. I cut out a grave mound that was like being dug because I thought that would be kind of fun. I don't really understand how this dirt kind of looks fake when it's literally real dirt. Whatever you don't like, just throw dirt at it, basically. I'm gonna start assembling the pillars. The base of these is a cube, kind of. It goes in to another cube. Simple two-dimensional shapes for three-dimensional shapes. I would actually put this together with normal glue, but I'm doing this with hot glue because I'm gonna cover these with a brick texture, so it sort of doesn't really matter that much if you see some of the hot glue, as long as everything goes according to plan, which a lot of times it doesn't. These are gonna be in the corners, three-dimensional rectangles. What are those called? Boxes, perhaps. And does he notice my feelings for him? When will he see how much he means to me? I think it's not to be. It is so nice out today, I kind of want to die. Went and took a stroll outside, if you can call that a stroll. Here's where I got to yesterday. I got that far and then I ran out of bricks. All of the paperboard that I'm using, Halloween and fall themed cookie boxes, fully in the spirit. Or I just eat too many cookies.
Just beat the devil up.
Thanks, Bob. Truly the next Jackson Pollock. I am so sorry to Jackson Pollock. Try this. I feel like that was like a lot of buildup for something that's quite slow. 3 actual hours of gluing later. Build, paint, age. That's order of operations. I didn't mean to bring math into this. I also made the sign. These are gonna be the frame. Then I cut out the letters. I kind of just freehanded it so they didn't turn out amazing. I'm gonna cut a piece of this plastic from a wine bottle or something. The miniature fence gods blessed me. I don't know. And then I'm gonna trim the edges off. Paint just this piece. Imagine I just spell it wrong. I wanted to have some of them that were kind of fallen off, like a really old graveyard. After that, I made the gate for the entranceway. Essentially, this is the same as the sign. One piece to give it some relief. I painted it all black. Added some hinges, aged all of that stuff with some sort of rusty colors. Then I started making the gravestones. I originally thought I was just going to use regular rocks for gravestones. I changed my mind very quickly. I did cut some gravestones out of foam. This is like cutting a pillow. It kind of sounds like a campfire. Oh no. I guess we're gonna be putting that back on. This material is porous. It kind of almost looks like sandstone-y. But then I also ended up not really loving how those turned out either. I decided to make some out of cardboard. I mixed dirt in my paint again to try and give stone texture. Aging, just like, I don't know, making it more interesting. I wanted to have a shovel that was like leaning against one of the tombstones where the grave was being dug. So I made that out of a toothpick and some paperboard. I wanted to make some candles to go on the front. I also wanted to make a couple of little crows. Can I pinch little legs out of this? Oh god, that looks like a dog. That's good enough. And I wanted to make a hand coming out of the gravestone to be spooky. And I also wanted to make a broken lock. I tried. Overcooked it a little bit, but it's okay. It looks spookier that way. We're gonna hope that this doesn't end up like Jimin. Have my techniques improved? Probably not, because that was like a week ago. I don't hate this, so I think it's going better. Ooh. Maybe it does look bad. It's supposed to be like a scroungy crow anyway. It's not to diss graveyard crows. They're a wonderful species. I need like one more hand. I'm gonna make some tiny little holders for the candle. I wanted them to be like they had been burned out. Melted some hot glue down the top. Help. Oh. We're gonna see just how bad it looks. I think it'll be, well, if that's anything to go by. Is this a little ugly? Yes. Honestly, same, so it's okay. Rust stains coming down from that, from the moss. I'm gonna use some tiny pieces as the candle wicks. Blend it in with the top. I covered so many mistakes with dirt and moss. Oh, it was wonderful. Then I started painting on the path that goes around the tree. Little footprints. I don't know if this is gonna work, to be honest. I'm just like hacking at it. I'm gonna paint the leaves. It's a little bit like of a bright shade of green. Going to add some spider webs. It's here. That was it. Graveyard was really fun. Definitely a challenge. Do a lot of interiors and also exteriors that are like very urban, I guess. I haven't done a lot of like natural sort of environments. Not that a graveyard is necessarily natural, but you know what I mean. I absolutely love making props. I would like to make more props in the future. Do I do anything on Halloween? No, but I don't do anything ever, so. What did you dress up for Halloween? Are you dressing up? Do you make your costume? Were you a Grim Reaper too? Let me know. Happy Halloween.